Nobody inside Westminster Abbey expected the tiniest whales to ice the festive glow with a single featherlight sentence. One moment, December carols soared beneath Gothic arches. The next, 7-year-old Prince Louis held up a scarlet card that thanked two beloved grands, Carol and Michael Middleton, yet skipped the Queen Consort entirely. Asked why, Louis's blue eyes steadied, his voice a hush carrying further than any choir note. She's not telling the truth. In an instant, the candles seemed to flicker harder, the chatter drowned in stunned hush, and a centuries-old monarchy felt a tremor from a child who, by rank, may never rule, but by candor, already reigns. To grasp how an honest whisper grew into a digital thunderclap, we must journey through Louis's riotously normal childhood, the ghostly dramas that predate his birth, and the fragile detente now binding Britain's most scrutinized family. From the balcony wave that stole Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee to the spontaneous hair flip that upstaged this year's VE Day parade, Prince Louis Arthur Charles is an unfiltered breeze blowing through the palace's thick brocade curtains. Aides swap stories, Louis turning state banquet place cards into paper airplanes, Louis staging backyard dragon hunts with household cavalry helmets, Louis asking CNN's microphone if it wanted tea. Each antic feeds the public's appetite for a monarchy that occasionally trips over its own polish. Yet Louis's mischief is no mere slapstick. Even during trooping the color where tradition demands stillness, watchful lenses catch him scanning grown-up faces, reading silences the way other children read picture books. That radar, sharpened by endless ceremonies, will matter when broken promises cut through polite smiles. At home, the boys' day begins not with royal trumpet, but with a chaotically normal breakfast. Cereal pops and milk. George barters banana slices for a Lego roof he needs. Charlotte quotes rules from a homemade siblings charter. And Louis, ever the disruptor, adds gummy bears to the porridge when Nanny Maria blinked. It's affectionate anarchy, precisely the sort William and Catherine engineered. A bubble where His Royal Highness is traded for Lou Bug and protocol bows to playtime. William, scarred by flashbulbs of his own 1990s boyhood, keeps professional cameras off-limits inside the cottage. Catherine wields a DSLR for official birthdays, so her son's grin feels captured by Mum, not monarchy. To millions, these photos radiate warmth, but inside the gates they are also armor, carefully released authenticity that spares Louis the harsher glare of strangers. Adelaide Cottage, hidden behind Windsor's ancient brick and chestnut trees, is less palace and more enchanted warren. Chickens scratch near raised veggie beds. A sagging willow doubles as a pirate ship. Catherine's beehive sheds hum on warm afternoons. While George tackles piano practice and Charlotte sketches unicorn-winged corgis, Louis commandeers saucepans into a drum kit, rattling window panes until William submits and joins on an unplugged bass. Friday evenings, they camp in the back garden. Real tents, real dew, real bedtime stories. William reads the Gruffalo, Catherine adds animal voices, and Louis interrupts with grievances. Why the big bad mouse never gets pudding, why knights don't invite dragons for tea. These tangents delay lights out, but the parents indulge. Every extra minute under canvas is one more brick in the childhood fortress Diana once dreamt for her sons. Twice a month, the Middletons whisk Louis to Bucklebury. There, Granny Carol tolerates flower storms as cupcakes rise while Granddad Michael teaches pond skimming and star spotting. On those Berkshire nights, Louis forgets equerries exist. He sleeps past dawn, muddy socks abandoned on carpet. The next morning, Carol frames his splotchy watercolor, an out-of-proportion corgi, and Louis beams like Van Gogh. That warmth later echoed on his kindness tree note, a declaration of gratitude that set the Abbey dominoes in motion. Yet amid this carousel of cuddles hovers an invisible omission. Garden cricket matches include Grandpa Wales, now King Charles, whose telescope turns stargazing into mythology lessons. But Queen Camilla, though cordial, appears seldom. When she does appear, she brings books of Beatrix Potter and pockets full of dog treats. Kind gestures, but brief. Louis senses brevity more keenly than flattery. He files it away wordlessly until the December night when the question why no mention of Camilla's demands a spoken answer. Observers might consider the Queen Consort's distance a scheduling footnote. After all, Camilla juggles literacy charities, osteoporosis campaigns, and now the heavier load of supporting a monarch post-diagnosis. But royal watchers with memories long as cathedral aisles trace subtler currents. Camilla, once branded the third person in a doomed marriage, spent decades winning grudging tolerance. By the time Louis toddled across Buckingham carpets, Britain had largely softened to her. Yet acceptance is not the same as childhood intimacy, and forging that intimacy demands unfussy hours on the floor-building train tracks, a luxury Camilla's itinerary rarely grants. One anecdote, now folklore on royal fan message boards, crystallizes the gap. Late summer 2023, Windsor's drawing room sofas hosted an impromptu rain day gathering. Charles invited his grandson to demonstrate a Lego castle. Louis burst in, kit in arms, asking Granny C to help place battlements. The Queen Consort, mid-briefing on a charity gala, apparently smiled an apology, promising next time. William's sources claim smoothly redirected Louis to Grandpa's lap, but the boy's crestfallen blink did not go unnoticed by watching staff. That blink, retold and retweeted, mutated into legend, the promise Camilla never kept. Legends, of course, inflate. Camilla's defenders cite private horse stable visits with the whale's children, unphotographed but tender. Palace insiders whisper that Camilla mailed Louis a night-themed birthday card, featuring his own face on a jousting paladin. But myths outperform memos, especially online. Every instance of visible distance feeds a storyline that Louis absorbed, accurate or embellished, about a grandmother half present. Why does this nuance matter? Because Louis's father still carries echoes of 1996 like dust in a pocket. 12-year-old William watched Diana weep behind Kensington drapes, watched her confront Camilla at Annabel Elliott's party, with almost Shakespearean anguish. Please don't treat me like an idiot. He overheard phone calls, glimpsed headlines of Camilla-gate tapes far too adult for preteen ears. Then came the separation, 1992, the official divorce, 1996, and worst, the tunnel crash that iced over half the nation's soul, one Parisian night in 1997. From those fissures, William drew a single ironclad vow. His own children would be protected from weapon-grade heartbreak. Fast forward 2 decades, and William's vow manifests as micro-choices. Camilla is welcomed, yes, but the emotional throttle remains in William's hands, modulated to safeguard memory of Diana. Louis, watching his father's subtle cues, digests emotional algebra invisible to grown-ups who forget how observant 7-year-olds are. Thus, a grandmother who hovers at the polite perimeter feels to Louis less mean than simply unknown. And unknown to a child who worships authenticity slides dangerously close to not truthful. 1652. GMT. Westminster Abbey's cloister entrance. Camera phones bob as Catherine shepherds George, Charlotte, Louis toward the greeters' table stacked with red cards. Each child receives a pen shaped like a candy cane. 1703. George disappears behind a pillar, scribbles thanks to a school cricket coach who taught him a backward sweep. Charlotte, neat as calligraphy, thanks the hospice nurse who showed her origami cranes. Louis doodles 3 lumpy figures, 2 tall, 1 short, beneath the words, "Thank you, Granny and Grandpa, for games plus cookies." Ink smudges as he waves paper around like a victory flag. 1706. A chaplain named Elias kneels teasing, "Only one granny, young sir?" Nearby guests chuckle. Louis's grin falters. He glances at his mother, then squares shoulders and declares, "She's not telling the truth." Silence swells. Cameras, set to record choirs, pivot like sunflowers. William's eyebrows knit. Kate's hand finds Louis's back in gentle code. "We'll talk later." The boy, unaware of seismic ripples, marches to the kindness tree and pins his note high, almost triumphant. 1715. The first unsteady handheld video hits X like Twitter. Within 15 minutes, a TikTok user overlays dramatic orchestral rush under subtitles, "Kid outs Queen for lying." 1 million views by midnight. 1840. At the post-service reception, Camilla accepts gingerbread, offers mild compliments about the chorister's Latin. Her smile is practiced serenity, but micro-expression experts freeze-frame a twitch in her jaw. 2200. Palace spokesperson issues boilerplate. Their Majesties thoroughly enjoyed the evening and are delighted by the children's heartfelt messages. Social media translates no denial. Memes bloom, Louis wearing detective hat, speech bubble, royal lie detector. By dawn, mainstream outlets splash headlines. Truth bomb at Westminster. When Gran isn't on the gratitude list. Little Prince, big statement. Editorials divide. Some chastise the public for toddler exploitation. Others hail a new generation's honesty. Spin doctors draft a soft focus pushback. First, leak to Hello. Magazine that Camilla gifted Louis a miniature rescue pup plush he absolutely adores. Second, schedule a joint engagement at a children's literacy fair, ensuring photographers capture Camilla kneeling beside Louis as he reads The Wind in the Willows. Third, place background quotes. The Queen has always found Louis hilarious, in friendly newspapers. Yet in algorithmic combat, authenticity trumps choreography. Every staged hug invites a comment thread asking, "Where was this energy before?" Inside Clarence House, advisors debate the nuclear option, releasing unseen 2022 video of Camilla teaching Louis to plant lavender for pollinators. William reportedly vetoes, exploiting private footage breaks trust. Instead, he proposes something quieter. A Windsor picnic, far from lenses, kites, and sausage rolls included, no Instagram allowed. Camilla agrees. That afternoon, Louis races Granny C across wet grass, collapses laughing when she tumbles in her sensible heels. Later, painting pebbles, Camilla apologizes for missing the Lego session months prior. Charity duty, not disinterest. Louis tests her with one unsmiling stare, then nods, accepting. Children forgive quickly when adults kneel to their level. Will the world learn of this rapprochement? Maybe not soon, maybe never. But the monarchy's calculus is shifting. Private credibility must be earned before public warmth feels genuine. Pollsters ring 1,500 adults. Results show Camilla's favorability sliding among Gen Z and millennials by 5 points. More striking, a word cloud study finds authentic and honest clustering around Prince Louis, while hidden, cold, calculating cluster around Camilla. The palace notices. Courtiers whisper that upcoming tours will feature more multi-generational photos. Louis planting trees with both grandparents, Cambridge cousins invited to ride ponies en masse. The hope flood the feed with casual cross-generational affection until the December whisper recedes. Yet another internal memo surfaces. It only recedes if it's true. Translation: people sniff out sugarcoating. The family must actually knit closer, not merely pose closer. William, aligning with the council, schedules fortnightly Sunday roasts at Windsor with Camilla, Kate, and all 3 children. No staff cameras, just Yorkshire pudding, board games, dogs underfoot. Whether this routine sticks will determine more than ratings. It will decide if Louis grows up recounting Granny C stories with genuine fondness or wary civility. Amid this public relations shuffle, King Charles faces treatments that sap energy. Doctors advise pace management, courtiers trim foreign tours. Louis, oblivious to corpuscles and scans, only understands Grandpa Wales sometimes sits more, plays restless. One chilly March morning, Charles invites his grandson to examine early snowdrops in Frogmore Gardens. Kneeling, he explains how bulbs store hope through winter. Louis, grasping metaphor by instinct if not vocabulary, promises to water them extra. The older king smiles, a flash of paternal pride tinged with urgency. He knows continuity now rests heavily on images like this, a small boy tending fragile blooms that will outlive both watchers. Camilla stands nearby, scarf fluttering, observing the quiet tutorial. She edges closer, offers Louis her gloves when his fingers redden. It's a small, unscripted kindness. A gardener pruning roses, watches and later tells a reporter friend who tweets the anecdote to modest applause. These whispers of warmth matter more than photo ops. They accumulate layer by layer until public skepticism may one day soften into acceptance that history's villains can transform into devoted grands. provided the transformation is lived, not marketed. The December flare-up did more than bruise egos. It held a mirror to Britain's relationship with its monarchy. Citizens already weigh tradition against transparency. Lewis's unvarnished truth, amplified by billions of pixels, crystallized the debate. Do we still trust a system where a 7-year-old slip can overshadow meticulously crafted press releases? Some commentators argued yes, because the system's very humanity keeps it relatable. Others argued no, because if sincerity leaks only from children, what does that say about adult courtiers? Think tanks launched panel discussions. Monarchy 3.0. Can candor coexist with ceremony? University students polled peers. Over half declared they'd prefer royals on Twitch streams answering unscripted questions. Meanwhile, heritage charities noticed uptick in donations tagged "For the Gardens Louis Loves." Proof the boy's innocence converts to goodwill. Within the palace, strategists mull possibilities. Limited YouTube Q and A's for younger royals? More candid Instagram lives from Catherine's phone? Each idea toes a perilous line between refreshing transparency and reality show cringe. Truth, with all its disruptive clarity, rarely enters palaces through the front gate. It slips in via open windows, whispered by jesters, journalists, and, occasionally, children too young to fear fallout. Prince Louis's softly spoken doubt rattled the Abbey, not because it was cruel, but because it felt unscripted in a kingdom addicted to script. Whether Queen Camilla's future now glitters with freshly sown grandchild bonds, or trundles forward behind braver smiles depends on choices made far from cameras. Cancelled meetings to honor Lego dates, less ceremony, more cross-legged storytelling. For the boy himself, December's melee will fade into half-memory, eclipsed by bigger adventures. First football match at Villa Park, first mission trip with Mum, first teenage heartbreak scribbled into chord progressions on that battered drum kit. Yet the monarchy, as an institution, will not forget. It cannot afford to. Every subsequent Christmas note, every off-the-cuff remark at a scout jamboree will be parsed for sincerity or strategy. And the message is already carved into digital marble. Audiences crave royals who sound like humans, not press packets. So tonight, as floodlights paint Buckingham Palace gold and the city hums, remember the tiny voice that briefly outrang choir and cannon. It asked merely for truth, nothing grander, nothing more perilous. For a 7-year-old, that seemed simple. For a 1,000-year-old institution, it may prove the ultimate test. Which way do you think the Windsors will tilt? Toward more whispered honesty, or back behind velvet drapes? Let us know below. Crack that like button if you value unfiltered royal moments. And subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming deep dive into the secret sibling pact between George and Charlotte that palace aides are quietly freaking out about. Prince Louis shocks everyone with insane royal bombshell about Camilla. It started with a single sentence penned in bright red ink, fluttering from a Christmas kindness tree outside Westminster Abbey. 7-year-old Prince Louis, monarchy's pint-sized scene stealer, thanked his Middleton grandparents for playing games. Sweet, yes, but seasoned royal watchers gasped. Where was a nod to Queen Camilla, the woman poised meters away under festive lights? Minutes later, when a well-meaning guest asked why, Louis's innocent answer landed like a cannon across the choir stalls. She's not telling the truth. In that heartbeat, the Abbey's carols hushed. Kate's reassuring hand slipped to her son's shoulder, and the centuries-old institution realized the youngest Wales had just lobbed a rhetorical grenade at the Queen herself. Tonight we trace that blast, how a child's honesty sliced through Buckingham protocol, why it echoes wounds from 30 years ago, and what it means for a throne already balancing on public goodwill. To most, Louis Arthur Charles is the monarch in waiting. Nobody expects to reign, free to charm without the crushing weight of destiny. At VE Day's 80th anniversary parade, he mimicked Prince George's hair flip, tugged on William's metal ribbons, and flashed the grin that sells 1,000 tabloid covers. New York Post. Those viral bursts aren't calculated. They're a natural high-voltage current that races through every royal engagement. Yet beneath the giggle sits razor-sharp perception. Palace aides regularly note how Louis clocks a room faster than protocol officers. Who's tense, who's thrilled, who's playing along? That sixth sense will matter later when a promise is quietly broken. William and Catherine learned the hard way what a childhood under Klieg lights can steal. So behind Adelaide Cottage's ivy-clad walls, screens are rationed, mud is encouraged, and dinner is loud. Carol and Michael Middleton host cozy sleepovers where Louis raids the pantry for biscuits, their importance shown in his kindness tree note. People.com. Even homework carpools are shared to dodge lens flares. Louis drums on unused casserole lids. George rolls his eyes, then joins in. Charlotte choreographs backyard dance-offs. Their kids first, royal second. Yet one frequent visitor is conspicuously scarce. Garden cricket matches with Grandpa Wales as King Charles are legendary. Queen Camilla's chair, onlookers say, is often empty. Photos exist. Camilla guiding Louis by the back on Christmas walkabouts, whispering jokes at summer fetes. But they are few. Royal photographers whisper of a gentler distance. Cordial smiles, yes, but no sticky finger storytelling sessions like she enjoys with Charles's rescue terriers. Viral fan uploads claim Louis once trotted into a Windsor drawing room, clutching toy soldiers, only to be shooed away because Granny C needs quiet. Whether embellished or not, the narrative stuck. Queen Camilla gracious in public, hesitant in private to dive into grandparenting chaos. Children feel atmospheres. Louis felt a chill.